Hello and welcome back to Guidance in Recovery with your podcast host Keegan. And this is an interesting episode because I've got to ask you real quick, guys, what do you got on your heart today? For real, be honest. It's not going to hurt much. Today, I'm speaking with Gloria K. Vanderhorst, a psychologist that helps men develop broader and healthier relationships with spouses and families by accessing their emotions. Ooh. She's here to highlight the developmental dangers of being a male in today's society that come with blocking our emotions from an early age and what we can do to step out of that danger zone. So, Gloria, it's great to have you on today. And I got to ask, what hill are you willing to die on?
I am willing to die on this hill of changing the way that we raise our boys.
Mm,
We do our boys an incredible disservice. And if I were in charge of the world, first I would educate mothers,
okay.
and then I would modify every preschool so that there's a male and a female teacher in every preschool.
Huh.
We shut our boys off. Infancy and preschool are the major interventions where we shut off the emotions that our boys can experience because infancy is generally managed by females and preschools are managed by females. So the male does not have a good model to follow and doesn't have the opportunity to express emotions and have them accepted by the people, the adults that they're interacting with. So I'll die on that hill. We need to change the way we raise boys.
Yeah, I'm glad you're willing to die on that hill because I'll be right there with you.
Good.
uh, it's interesting though because in today's society, we're kind of well, as a guy early on, the message that I kind of got was like, hey, we don't need to feel our emotions, or maybe not even feel. We don't need to express them. No one needs to worry about Debbie Downer per se or whatever, but that's not necessarily the case. So, can I ask real quick, what got you into this whole battle of sorts?
Well, when I started my private practice, I had a friend who ran a preschool.
Okay.
And, preschools are run by women. The
Hmm.
teachers are mainly women. And so they would refer boys to get psychological evaluations to identify if this energetic, exuberant boy had attention deficit disorder. I will
Huh.
tell you the majority of them did not, a few of them did, but typically they were just normal boys, right? They needed to move. Little girls can sit in a circle, fold their hands, listen to the story intently. Little boys are gonna lean to the right, lean to the left. They're gonna elbow the person next to them. They're gonna fiddle with their pants or their shoestrings. They're gonna be in motion,
Hmm.
right? And,
Yeah.
and that's not a disability, right? That's the truth about the difference between boys and girls. All
Hmm.
right. Boys are born with more action intention than little girls are. Boys are born with a broader range of emotional expression. Now,
Hmm.
that should shock everybody.
Yeah. Huh.
So I'm going to say it again. Boys are born with a broader range of emotional expression than girls.
Huh. That's really strange. That's the
Isn't it?
exact opposite of what I've always known. So,
Right.
how did you come across that?
Well, it is the exact opposite. First, there's a database, there's research on infants and looking at the emotional range that is expressed by both boys and girls. And lo and behold, right, unexpectedly, we discover, yikes, boys come into the world with a broader range of emotional expression. They can get more intense on the high, exuberant, excited range. They can get more intense on the down, difficult, distressed range, but their raised by and large by women.
Mm.
And so babies are brilliant. I tell people, if you want to discern who in your system is a safe person, pass a baby around the room. Babies are brilliant. They read the room perfectly. This is their survival skill. But
Huh.
they're by and large raised by women. And so when the boy gets like more excited on the positive end, more exuberant, a little more intense, mother's going to go like that, right? Mother's going to go, scrunch up her face or withdraw a little bit. Infants are dependent on adults for survival. So if mother withdraws, scrunches up her face, moves away a little bit, the infant learns, oops, don't go there, all right?
Mm.
Because that disengages this person that I'm dependent on. And so, right there in the first few months of life, boys have to narrow the range of emotional expression that they were born with. Now, I'll tell you, it never goes away, right? It still
Mm.
exists up here in your brain, but you adapt, all right? You decide intuitively that for my own survival, I'm not going to get that intense on the positive range. I'm not going to get that intense on the negative range so that mother will stay engaged,
Mm.
right? That makes logical sense. And then we, put them on their feet. They start to walk around. And what do we say to little boys?
Um. Be calm. Stop.
Yeah, don't cry, right? How
Uh-huh.
many times, right, have you been maybe at a family gathering, in a public place, where a boy starts to fuss or cry and they're told to stop?
A
Little
lot.
boys, a lot, over and over and over. I tell people, go to the park, go to the mall. If you don't believe me, just watch. All right,
Mm.
little girl in line for the slide. She gets knocked out of line. She cries. She goes to her parent. Her parent picks her up and asks her what happened. All right, lets her cry, encourages her to go back, sits her back down on her feet, and then she goes back in line. Little boy gets knocked out of line, starts to cry, goes to his parent, and the parent does not pick him up. The parent looks down at him and asks, what happened? If he gives a good enough explanation, he will get some comfort, some reassurance. Typically, he does not get picked up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then he will get turned around, go back in line, you're okay, dust yourself off. We treat boys and girls so differently. And emotionally, that's wrong. That's wrong,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oof. Uh,
Yeah, really, it does. It hits you that
uh-huh.
way, right? When you stop to really think about at a very young age the different paths we're establishing for boys and for girls, right? So if I'm telling you at 2 or 3 to cut off access to a certain part of your brain, and you have to do that for survival, really, for continuing interaction
Yeah.
with me and safety with me, you have to follow that instruction. But I've just eliminated access to those feeling states. All right. Then I get you to school. All right. You're in a crowd, in a group of other kids that age. Most preschools are run by women, again, right? And again, if I were in charge, there'd be a male in every classroom and a
Mm-hmm.
female in every classroom. But in the preschool, then we eliminate the places that you can play. Little boys cannot go into the doll corner, All right. So to develop any sense of nurturing something that's dependent on you as a dad, you're going to have an infant that's dependent on you, but we won't let you practice or train for that
Mm.
role. All right. You don't get to play in the doll corner. We actually don't like you in the kitchen corner, even though most famous chefs are men.
Mm-hmm.
We still, at the preschool level, we don't want you in the kitchen corner, right? We want you playing with trucks. We want you building with blocks, all right? We eliminate, girls can play with trucks. Girls can go build with blocks. They can go in the kitchen corner. They could go in the doll corner, right? They have free range to explore anything, but we limit boys. And that education sticks so that when you're an adult, right, you limit yourself. You're not supposed to cry. Actually, you're not even supposed to complain,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right? You're supposed to problem solve. I have this guy that years ago who was just complaining like crazy that he worked in an office and many of the other personnel were female. And he says, if anything breaks down, they come to me, right? As
Yeah.
though somehow I magically knew how to fix it. He said, I don't know how to fix any of those machines. Why are they coming to me? Well, they come to him because he's a male,
Mm-hmm.
right? And males are supposed to be able to fix things and work on things, right? You're supposed to have that intelligence in you just automatically, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
born with this capability to understand a machine and fix it. We do all kinds of things to men. And then we wonder, why is the divorce rate 50% or more,
Mm.
right? Why are our jails full of men?
Mm.
Why are the majority of addicts male, not
Yeah.
female? Right? It
Mm.
is because we have robbed you of access to emotions that would help you to problem solve, would help you to process what you're experiencing in this world. And we've put you in this box, right? You
Mm.
can't process it because you don't have access to your feeling states, but you can regain that access. And it's important to regain that access.
Mm. Yeah. They, so much of what you just said really hit home, because I do remember early ages where it was like if I was crying or something, it was, and depending on what for or whatever, it could definitely be like, why are you crying? It better be a good reason, or I'll give you something to cry
Amen.
about.
Right.
And
Yeah, right. Or I'll give you something to cry about. That's a
yeah.
very typical one for boys. We don't do that to girls,
Mm.
right? Nobody ever says to a girl when she's crying, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about.
Mm.
Right? That would be very unusual, but it comes out for boys just really easily.
Mm.
Right? Somehow
Yeah.
we're terrified of our males having access to the full range of feelings.
Yeah, that's it's strange that we're as a society scared of that, but I mean, the conspiracy theorist in me says it's because we want busybodies building stuff, and that's it.
Well, I think it really does, I'll admit it's got to be rooted in ancient history. All right.
Mm.
Think of the caveman, right? I don't
Mm-hmm.
want my caveman crying and whimpering about picking up his spear and facing something twice his size that's going to run after him and try to kill him. All right. I want him brave. I don't want him functioning in those tender feeling states. So, and then, all right, think of all the times that we have sent hordes of men to war on a battlefield, knowing that the majority of them are going to die. All right. I don't want them being scared because I want them to defend the country and save the country. So it's been adaptive, but it's so damaging. And it's not adaptive anymore. We don't send hordes of men onto the battlefield. We push buttons. We blow people up by pushing buttons.
Yeah.
All right. So it's time that we take a deeper dive into this and really consider changing the way that we raise our boys so that both male and female have full access to their feeling states.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I think that that is probably the next evolution per se of society or people is allowing men to have that emotional capacity to express themselves, to feel all that. And coming from a addiction background, like I can tell you right now that suppressing all that stuff is what made me go into addiction in the first place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That drives every male into addiction. If I cannot express myself, then I have to swallow these feelings, all right? And these feelings stay in your body. They don't disappear. All
Yeah.
right, they stay in your body. They cause stress and pain. You want to numb that pain. How am I going to do it? Drugs and alcohol numb
Yeah.
that pain. I learned that real early. All right, teenage boys, think of it. All right, you're a 10, 11, 12-year-old boy. You're beginning interactions with females. Boys are posturing with each other and having contests with each other. So your sense of competence, your sense of am I likable, kind of all this huge mixture of emotion is flooding you, right? And so there's no safe outlet for that. So boys end up swallowing those feelings. Those feelings create fire in your belly, right? It's not a productive fire, it's a destructive fire. You want to calm that, you want to diminish that. How do you do it? Drugs and alcohol, man. That's the
Mm,
easiest way to do it.
yeah. Yeah, and it sucks, you know, and I mean, it's one of those things that I've also learned that I couldn't, like I've said in the past, I grew up and I could feel happy, angry, hungry, and horny. Aha!
Yeah.
And so it didn't leave a lot of room for the other emotions, and a lot of those were the ones that I wanted to express, the ones that I needed to feel seen, validated, and
Right.
so on and so forth. And being able to express those now, it feels weird still every now and again because I it's just something that's like I have to learn a new path. And but that's what you help men do now, right? You help couples and everything like that develop deeper relationships.
Absolutely. It's a learning process. I have available on my website a feeling sheet. It's 4 pages, 4 or 5 columns on each page of just
Mhm.
feeling words. And the
Huh.
neat thing about your brain, when I said your brain doesn't lose access to feelings, it's really true. So if you download that feeling sheet. I tell people put one in the kitchen, one in the place where you play games or watch television, one in the bedroom. So you have easy access to it. And when you're having a feeling experience, if you scan through those feeling words, the feelings that you're experiencing will just pop off the page. Your brain will recognize what this feeling is. Your brain still wants to take care of you. Your brain still has access to that full range of feelings, and you'll be pleasantly surprised, maybe even shocked, that your brain pops that feeling out when you're just scanning all of those words, and it's right on target. All right, it's right on target. And then you can talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
right? Once you can identify, well, what is the feeling that's just come up for you? Then you can talk about it. You can elaborate on it. You can tell stories about it. You can identify other times that you've had that same feeling. And voila, right? You've just educated yourself to expand your feeling vocabulary.
Ooh, I love that. And
Yeah.
it reminds me of the feelings wheel pillow that was in my therapist's office in
Ah,
rehab.
yes. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to educate people that you have access to all of these feelings. Your brain knows that you can feel just about anything or everything, and it will recognize it immediately.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you think that not having full access to those emotions or being sitting there and saying, I can't feel this is one of the reasons why men experience a hard time developing intimacy in
Oh,
relationships?
absolutely. Absolutely. Right? You cannot develop intimacy unless you can access the full range of your feeling states.
Mm,
So, what happens in relationships with men and women, the reason the divorce rate is as high as it is that women get trained to access a broader range of feeling states. Men do not, but there's a caveat to this,
okay.
right? We also train women to help men avoid feelings.
Ooh, what do you wait,
Yeah.
what? Huh?
Ooh, that's a dirty little trick. So the guy comes home from work,
Uh,
right? He is definitely having a negative feeling. He can't name it, but he is definitely down. The wife will recognize that, right? Looks like you had a bad day. She'll be curious, she'll be interested, and he'll give a headline, right? I was up for this opportunity. I thought I'd be the person that they picked to go to this conference, and shit, right? This other guy got it, right? And it
mhm.
just pisses me off, all right? So he'll give that headline. She will placate him in some way. Oh, I'm so sorry that you didn't get it. Sounds like it was really important to you. And then, right, she will have some other place she needs to go. I need to
Mm,
check something on the stove. I was just finishing an email. Let me get back to that. All right. She will disengage in some way and not be interested and curious about getting the deeper story, the full story about that. Because we've also trained her that men are not supposed to go into deep feeling places.
hmm,
Now, change the scenario, make this a girlfriend who comes to visit, exact same experience, exact same headline, and she will say, sit down, I'm getting us a cup of tea, I want to hear all about this,
hmm,
right? She will go into a deep dive with a female friend, but she will avoid that deep dive with her husband because she's also been trained that men are not supposed to have deep feelings, and if they do, they will be dangerous feelings. That's our
mm,
belief system, all right? If I open up the feeling states for a male, it will be bad, it will be negative, it will be anger, right? There will be trouble that ensues. We really do not train women to actually receive the full range of emotions or expect them from their male partner. And that's why they get into trouble so easily. The
huh.
male's naturally frustrated. He has every right to be frustrated. Nobody wants to listen to him and hear his full story. And so after a while, he either withdraws or he becomes more irritated. right? Both of those diminish the connection between the two of them. And then, guys end up getting into big trouble in
Hmm.
relationships, right? They throw things, they push, they shove, they hit, they kill, and, then we plunk them in jail.
Yeah. Oof. Oh man. That you're I just had a like small little flashback to my first marriage where it was like I would get home and I'd be like, all right, now I'm going to sit in the car and drink some shooters and wait to build up the courage to go upstairs because I just kind of exist up there. Like, yeah, that's kind of weird. Huh. That's
So true. And
so
so
strange.
common.
Yeah.
That is just so common. And then let's put you together with a group of men.
Okay.
All right. Men can develop strong bonds with each other. All right. Let's say you have a group that you play basketball with or play hockey with, all right, or just watch sports with. And you develop a closeness with that group. But the closeness is built around the activity, not around disclosure and not around problem solving. So you can have a close, deep, frequent relationship with another guy or a group of guys, and years can go by and you will not disclose something that's really heavy on your heart that you've been dealing with or coping with. And it might come out at some point in time, and your male friends are going, "What the blank?" Right? Why? Right? Why did you hold on to that? Why didn't you talk? Well, because they were not going to be receptive,
Mm-hmm.
right? They would back away from it, all right? They'll hear a headline, just like the wife would hear a headline, and then they'll assure you, right? Oh,
Mm,
it's going to be okay. Or,
yeah.
go get them, right? But they won't take that deeper dive into wanting to know more of how it's impacting you emotionally. So we isolate men.
Mm, yeah, that oof. Wow. Huh. And I mean, that kind of is it really does build on each other like going from young age to older and stuff. It's in the recovery rooms, I've heard it put really well that like as guys, we receive love and validation whenever we produce things, whenever we provide, and sometimes we just want to uh, just be accepted for the feelings that we
Right,
have.
right. You deserve just to be. Right? And to be enjoyed because you are you and you have all of these personal characteristics and capabilities, not because you produce.
Mm, yeah. So, I mean, so we've kind of looked at the problems and everything and the background for a lot of it. And I know we can go deeper, but you help specialize in bringing men to that emotional place, right?
Right.
So, how do we kind of start digging away into the gold mine of sorts?
Yeah, you have to put men together. All
Hmm.
right. Yes, you can do good individual therapy with a guy. All right. But then he has to exist in the real world. So you have to bring groups of men together in a way that is safe so that they can share with each other these deeper emotional experiences. So that's happening, right? There are men's groups forming through psychology, social work. There are independent men's groups forming all over the United States where men go on retreats with each other. Sometimes they do camping kinds of things so that you kind of minimize the distractions and the opportunities to escape. And they get supported and guided through the process of naming their feelings and going into deeper places and learning that it's safe to share feelings with other men. It
Yeah.
takes time for guys to do that and get comfortable with it. But once you've broken through that barrier, you can't go back.
No.
Can't go back.
No, that's for sure. It's one of those things that once you know, you can't unlearn it.
Can't
Um,
unlearn it. Right.
and I mean, real quick though, I mean, so hypothetically, like if a guy were to go on one of those camping trips and like access some of his deeper emotions, wouldn't he almost immediately feel a backlash once he went back home to his spouse that's used to the normal, well, quote unquote, normal like wall?
Yeah, I would say yes, right? But one of the goals of these retreats is not only to facilitate taking a deeper dive into your own emotions, but to educate about, okay, now you are going to go back into the real world. And how are you going to take this with you, right? And really request and expect the attention that you have not received, but that you clearly deserve and that you need for survival moving forward.
Mm.
Right? You really have to be able to take charge of that, return to the real world, and be confident that you deserve to be heard, to have feelings, to get help in processing those feelings, and that, it's all right to cry. I mean, I think of men at funerals, right? Their very best friend has just died, and they're sitting there like this, right? They're just controlling that sense of weeping or crying, or they're waiting for the service to be over so they can go out into the parking lot, right? Climb into their cars and cry. They don't want to cry in front of other people. It's normal, it's natural to cry when you've had a serious loss. So if you've been through a group experience where you have been safe in opening up your feelings, you're more likely to give yourself permission to be real in that situation than a guy who has not been through that experience. So, group experiences for guys are really healthy.
Ooh, I love that. It sounds like we have to learn how to self advocate for ourselves in that kind of sense. And
Definitely.
yeah, so I mean, it's strange because like self advocacy goes all the way back to like, because on the flip side of that coin, women going and getting like medical stuff, they have to have a lot of self advocacy because a lot of medicine is based around guys for
Right.
some weird reason.
Right.
And so it's like the world is just all sorts of topsy turvy, and I don't like it.
Yes, it's complicated.
Yeah.
It is truly complicated. There is, however, I have to tell you about this YouTube that I send people
Okay.
to. It's an old one and it's a grainy one. But oh, decades ago, there was a children's program, and this huge football player, Rosie Greer, who was a giant of a football player, is on screen singing "It's All Right to Cry."
Huh.
Right now, he's doing this for a children's program. Marlo Thomas did a children's program decades ago, encouraging boys and girls to take ownership of their feeling states. But it's a great song, seeing this gigantic guy singing "It's All Right to Cry." So I often send men to take a look at that on YouTube
Huh.
because they can identify with the football player, right? And they can experience this guy just being transparent about crying is normal and natural for a human being. And you should not be denied that capability just because you're male.
Yeah. And I mean, thank you for bringing up the funeral aspect too, because that was one thing that I was also taught growing up was don't cry at funerals. And I was like,
Right.
oh, this is weird. So,
Why not? Right?
yeah.
Why not? You've lost someone who's important to you. If you can't cry there, you can't cry anyplace.
Yeah, that is the truth. And I mean, so whenever you work with couples, how do you help the woman kind of like accept these deeper feelings? And like, how often is there a backlash to that or like resistance, I guess?
Well, there's definitely resistance, right? Because we have been trained from the time that we're little girls that boys are supposed to be strong, boys are supposed to be tough, boys are supposed to problem solve, they're supposed to lead, right? They're supposed to protect. I mean, think of all of these adjectives that we put around men. Suddenly they're not human anymore.
Mm,
Right? So, in a
yeah.
couples situation, first of all, moving them in such a way that they're interested in taking a deeper dive into who is this person that I married, right? Who is this person? And I want to learn more about them. Then it softens the relationship when you begin to appreciate that your spouse, the guy that you're connected to, has feelings just like you do, right? He's not a robot,
Yeah.
right? He's has the same feelings that you do. He just has not been safe in the relationship to express those feelings. And then
Mm,
the woman is actually afraid of those feelings because she's been taught if a guy heads towards feelings, they're going to be negative, they're going to be angry, they're going to be dangerous, right?
mm,
But both the male and the female need to be able to explore and accept the full range of feeling states. And when a guy can express the sadness, the disappointment, the fear that he's been experiencing in that relationship, there's a softness that happens for both of them. And that leads to connection.
mm. Whoa. That was weird. I can hear myself now. Um, huh. Interesting. Let me turn myself down a little bit, see if that helps. But yeah, that connection, that closeness that opens up whenever that starts to happen. I mean, is do you suggest them like watching a rom-com together or something like that to kind of get the emotions going from an external source?
Yeah, I would say anything that the two of them are willing to generate. As you know, I'd be willing to do this in order to expand my feeling states, my feeling vocabulary, my acceptance of the full range of feelings. It
Mm.
can be very powerful, and once you open up that access, you can't go back, right?
Yeah.
It's just there in front of you. So you're naturally going to go to those experiences over and over and over
Huh.
again, and that increases the bond between the two of them.
Okay. Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like some card games that my wife and I will play where I think one of them is called like Let's Get Deep. And
Mhm.
like we would be on road trips. And so like she'd draw a card and then I draw a card kind of thing. And it's been pretty eye opening, you know. It's very
Yeah,
much one of those things where it's like, huh, you know, I've never thought about that. Let me think for a second. And then
right,
sometimes a surprise comes up and it's like, huh, that is how I feel about that. Weird.
right. Yeah, those
uh,
kinds of those there's a cards in a can kind of things.
yeah.
Those are really good for couples.
Okay. So do you suggest a lot of people like try that kind of stuff right off the
Oh,
bat?
for
Because
sure. Yeah, for sure. Not, so even you're laughing about it, they can be fun. They can be
Yeah.
silly, right? But they
Hmm.
are effective because they do get you thinking and reflecting and identifying feelings that you wouldn't have generated on your own.
Mm.
We
Okay.
all need help. We all need help.
Yeah. Here's a question real quick. So, like in the very beginning of this episode, I asked the guys like, "Hey, what do you have on your heart? It's okay to like feel it. It's not going to hurt much." And I say that because I know that whenever I first started to access some emotions and stuff, there was a lot of pain, but it was also weird. So, I mean, how do you help guys recognize that feeling uncomfortable with something isn't going to actually physically hurt or kill them?
Well, the truth of the matter is, if they internalize these feelings, it does hurt and kill them.
Mm,
Right? So addressing that, the very fact that you suppress feelings, that you swallow feelings, is shortening your lifespan. Men die about 10 years younger than women do because they do suppress feelings. So those turn into heart trouble, stomach trouble, all different kinds of breakdowns in internal organs because these feelings don't go away, right? We hide them in our body. I will tell you a story. A little preschooler boy taught me this. He was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And so his parents were divorced. He moved back and forth between these two houses. Now he's a preschooler, right? He's 3.
mhm.
And in each house, he is a terror. He is not cooperative in either of these houses. He is an absolute terror in
Okay.
both houses. All right. So his parents bring him into therapy to, hey, what's wrong with this guy? Why is he such a terror in both houses? So I'm working with him for a few days, and we come to the point where I get to ask him, kind of what happens? All right. Don't you ever get sad? And he says he just, makes himself tall, right? And he says, I never cry. When I feel like crying, he says, those tears, I swallow them. They go down into my tummy, they turn into rocks, and then they come right back out, and I throw them around the room. Well, if that wasn't a brilliant description of suppressing feelings, it's just a brilliant description of the
Mhm.
process of suppressing feelings. And that's what he was doing in both households. Whatever his feeling experience was, he was suppressing it. And then it came out in terms of anger towards both of his parents.
Mm.
And again, once you can name what you're doing, as he did, then you can work with it, all right? Then we can experiment. Well, what if they didn't go down in your throat and into your tummy, right? What if they just became water, right? And came out here? What would that be like? And what would then happen? Right? So you can work with it once you can identify it. So the same thing is true regardless of what age you are. Once you can identify the feeling experience that you can are having, you can work with it.
Hmm.
You can generate options for how to manage those feeling states. But unless you can name them, you really can't generate options.
Oh, okay. That that little dude sounds great.
Oh, yeah, really, he was brilliant. He was absolutely brilliant. He was just amazing.
Wow. And I mean, it just it really does highlight that whole thing, especially like with addiction, you know. Step 1 is all about realizing that there is a problem.
Right,
And I guess that really does apply to emotions as well, but we don't necessarily need to look at them as the emotion is the problem. It's the lack of expression that is the
right,
problem.
right.
Hmm.
Swallowing it, suppressing it, that is the problem. And never being educated on how to to label it, how to take this experience in my body and put a word to it. We do not help boys to label and understand their feelings. That's why I like the feeling sheet in, 3 or 4 rooms of the house, because you
Yeah.
can educate boys to name their feelings. And if I can name it, I can work with it.
Okay. I love that. Real quick, where can people find you and those feeling sheets again?
So the feeling sheets are free download on my website.
Okay.
And the website is www.drvanderhorst, just like you have on the screen. So it's www.drvanderhorst.com. And you can find my books on the website by filling in Gloria's books, all one word, no apostrophes, no spaces anywhere. And you can then go to that website and purchase one of my books. And they are journal books that will help you to identify your feeling experiences and learn how to put words to them so that you can talk about them and engage in exchanges with others, and educate yourself on the fact that, hey, it is all right to have feelings. It's all right to cry.
Mm. Okay, so thank you for bringing that up because I mean, journals are great because they're non-judgmental. The only person judging that journal is me whenever I write it.
Right, right. Well,
um,
the interesting thing about these books is that they have an essay on one page. The facing page is blank. It has a couple of stimulating questions, but it's blank so that you can tap into earlier history. You don't have to use words. You can use drawing, you can use scribbling, so that you can tap into those infant preschool experiences before you had access to words, right?
yeah.
Because that's where it starts. All right, that's where this disability that shows up in adulthood as addiction, it started back there. And it's just been growing and growing and growing. So you want to go back to the root and pull it out by the roots.
I love that. And you said a word in there that I didn't really quite comprehend until you said it because you said disability. And I mean, a lot of the times if we hear disability, it's we're not able to perform actions or something along the lines of quote unquote normal.
Right,
And it does hold someone back in society usually or
right, it
needs
does.
yeah, or we need that kind of support from outside to achieve the same results.
Right,
So, yeah, not feeling emotions and being able to express them is definitely a disability. Holy cow.
it is. Right, it's a huge disability, and we have institutionalized that for males.
Mm, yeah. And I mean, wow. I just don't think a lot of people could go, but no one's going to file a disability claim for I can't feel emotions.
Right. Well, not at this point.
Maybe in the
Maybe
future.
sometime in the future, I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, that would be really cool because I mean, once people start understanding that it's okay to feel these things, then everyone else is going to start connecting more and see that we
Right,
are all human. We are all
right,
experiencing the same world in some way, shape, and form. This is a shared reality. And I'm
right.
sorry, but sometimes it does suck, but we can work together to make it suck less.
That's right. And it is true, all right? When two people come together because of any stressor or problem, it feels better to be connected. There is relief in connection.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of what was said in, I don't remember if it was early rehab or in therapy, but like a shared burden is lighter.
That's
And
right.
yeah. And I mean, it's one of those things too. It's like, because for myself, it was like I didn't want to put my burdens on someone else and make them feel heavy. But
Right.
it took a lot of learning to really understand that if they're wanting to help, then they're willing to take a quote unquote burden.
Right.
But
Right.
for them, for the person receiving that so-called burden, it's not a burden. It's actually more of a blessing,
Right. It
because
is.
we get
And
to,
it's lighter for both of them. Yeah.
yeah,
Truly. Truly. Yeah.
yeah.
That's wonderful.
Is, I mean, it's just interesting that we really have shut off emotions for guys. And I mean, it's something that is very, it needs to be uprooted all the way through. And here's another question. Is there a wrong feeling?
That's so good. Well, I think the answer to that has to be no, right? Because we're born with the capability of experiencing every possible emotion. So it isn't that there is a wrong feeling, it's the use of that feeling,
Ooh, okay.
right? So the use of it can be wrong and can be dangerous, but experiencing it and sharing it so that it does become lighter is not wrong. There is no wrong feeling.
Ooh, I love that. I mean, it kind of made me think back to like the relationship I'm in now, where my wife, she hasn't really been able to express anger and she didn't really know how to handle it. But unfortunately, as a guy, one of my first things to experience is anger because,
Anger. Yeah.
yeah, but I've learned very much so, especially in the last couple of years, that kind of like what you said, it's not bad to feel it, but it's bad if I do something destructive, like throwing something or
Right.
whatnot. But
Right.
using those tools that I've learned, like breathing exercises or taking that half second to step back and reevaluate and ask myself, well, what is it that actually made me mad? Or why am I feeling mad? Or something like that. It shifts the perspective, it shifts the
Right.
energy flow.
Right.
So,
And by and large, anger is a secondary feeling.
mm,
So you want to go hunting for what did you feel first, right? Did you feel fear? Did you feel intimidated? Did you feel let down? There's a primary feeling most of the time that is underneath the anger, and you really want to be valued for the primary
mm.
feeling because that one you can problem solve with.
Yeah. Yeah, and thank you for highlighting that too, because in it's kind of like fear, right? Fear is also a secondary feeling for the most part, in my understanding at least. And it's one of those that if I don't address what happened to cause that fear, then I'm not going to actually go forward with it. But anger is definitely one of those that there's more to it. And I
Right.
think anger is more of the, like, I'm wanting to change or be seen or heard, anything of that nature, but
Right.
or even protection. A lot of
Right.
people will sit there and get angry, and there's also, man, anger is one of those that I hear people go, "Oh, it's such a negative. There's never anything good that comes out of it." And then there's also that line of
That's
thought.
not true. All right. So you have to think of it as a road sign.
Okay.
Right? It
Hmm.
is a road sign that will enable you to take a deeper dive into what path to take next because it is a secondary feeling. And there's something of value that is underneath that. So you have to give value to the anger because the anger is the road sign that says, hey, go looking.
Uh,
Stop right here and figure out what's underneath this.
so essentially, if someone is not comfortable feeling their anger, then they won't be able to feel comfortable exploring why
Right.
that anger popped up
Right.
and
That's
so
right.
on. Huh.
That's absolutely right. And that's what happens often with women. Women are more likely to suppress anger and deny that they ever feel angry. Well, you're a human being. I'm sorry, right? You feel it. And if you suppress it, you're denying yourself the opportunity to really find out what's the primary feeling underneath that.
Mm. Real quick, we are nearing the end of this episode, so I gotta ask, what do you think is more likely to be the primary feeling behind anger for men and or women?
Oh, I think fear.
Fear?
Yeah, right. And you've made fear a secondary feeling, right? But it is fear of what I might need, right? My needs, particularly for a male, have been suppressed so beautifully, right? We do this so comfortably and so easily. Men are not supposed to have needs, right? They
Hmm.
can't really um, express a need and have that legitimized. Even I want attention, all right? Men get shamed for wanting attention, right? Who are you to, take over and want center stage? What's the matter with you? All
Yeah.
right. It's normal and natural to want attention.
Hmm.
So, I would put fear right up there.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm going to have to definitely start exploring my roadmap of emotions and everything like that a little bit more, and I'm going to find access to a printer so that I can print off your emotion sheets.
Very good. Well, you can download them and put them on your phone.
Oh, hey, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, just put them in your computer, have access to them in
Yeah.
that.
So it's more of a habit that I need to build to say, all right,
Right.
now let me look at this.
And it's true, your brain will pick out the primary feeling. If you just scan through that list of words, it's magical. Your brain will identify what your body is experiencing and it will name it for
Hmm.
you. Like, once you name it, you own it.
Once you name it, you own it. I love that. Well, Gloria, it is an absolute honor and a pleasure having you on. And if you think you're up for it, I'd like to speak to you again in sometime in the future so that we can see how uh, just the emotional aspect and landscape has changed for either myself, the audience, or the world. Who knows? Maybe there's a great epiphany coming on.
Well, Keegan, that would be great. I'm working on and am just about ready to finish a book aimed at fathers on how to raise your sons. So when that's done, we should talk about it.
Ooh, that sounds awesome. I'm looking forward to that conversation. Help break some
But
generational curses.
that's right.
Well, with that being said, everyone else out there, thank you for listening to Guidance and Recovery on WDJY 99.1 FM. And as always, try to love yourself, love others if you can, but you got to try to love yourself first. Try to be your favorite version of yourself today. Express those emotions and feel them. And we'll see y'all in the next episode. But this has been Gloria, and this is Keegan, and we'll see y'all in the next episode. That much love.
Thank you.
Shalom. Thank you. And stop.